This is a review of Spanish 2 Unit 1 as we prepare for testing. Please be aware this is not meant as a replacement for your normal school work and does not supersede classroom instructions from your classroom teacher. Please make sure that you complete all work, and this is only meant as a summary to help you organize and prepare for the test. First off, we have some review with como eres. What kind of person are you? Como eres. You can use the verb ser to describe yourself and others. Use the adjectives agreeing in gender and number. We have the forms of ser in the present tense there for you in this box. Soy, eres, es, somos, and son. Vosotros and vosotras are not used in Latin America. This actually just means it's a plural you. It's a plural of tú that's used in Spain. So there's no need for us to work on that right now. You won't be tested on that. However, if you go to Spain someday, you might need that. You should be able to say sentences like Mi amigo es atrevido. My friend is bold and daring. Mi amigo es atrevido. You notice that mi amigo es, my friend is. Es goes with el, right? Is. And atrevido, daring, it matches the masculine of amigo. And it's also singular. But if we say ellas son simpáticas, we see that it changes. With the feminine plural, we get the feminine plural adjective. But we also are using son because ellos and ellas uses son. They are. So it's very important to know all of these forms of ser in the present tense as a review from last year, and also be able to use gender and number agreement in Spanish. Los verbos regulares. This is another review. Make sure you are prepared to conjugate verbs, AR, ER, or IR varieties to form the present tense of regular verb. You drop the AR, ER, IR ending and add the appropriate present tense ending for the subject. Use the present tense to talk about what somebody is doing or what someone does. Yo hablo inglés, I speak English. Hablan español, they speak Spanish. Nosotros comemos, we eat. No, nosotros vivimos in Victorville, right? We live in Victorville, etc. So you should be familiar with these endings. Well, there's some verbs that end in go for the yo form. You should be familiar with these. Tengo, for example. Tengo, and then everything else does not have the G in it. It's just normal. Tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen, etc. And hacer, poner, traer works the same way. They work the same way. Hacer becomes hago. Poner becomes pongo. Traer, to bring, becomes traigo. And venir, to come, becomes vengo. You could also use tener to show age, how old you are. Tengo 15 años. Por ejemplo, tengo 15 años, I am 15 years old. You could also use it to talk about different, you could use it to express different things, like if you're hungry, or thirsty, or tired. Tengo hambre, I'm tired. Tengo sueño, I'm sleepy, I'm tired. Tengo sed, I'm thirsty. Tengo hambre, I'm hungry. So that's how that works. You can also use tener with que. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Tenemos que escribir mucho en la clase de inglés. We have to write a lot in English class. So it has to do with what you have to do, and use an infinitive after the que to talk about what people have to do, to talk about obligations. Tus clases, be able to talk about your classes and what other people are doing in school. Repetir palabras, right? Repeating words. Aprender de memoria is to memorize, to learn by heart. Sacar buenas notas or sacar buenas calificaciones. means to get good grades. Discutir la tarea is to discuss homework. Escribir un ensayo is to write an essay. Explicar, to explain. Hacer un proyecto, to do a project. Almorzar, to eat lunch. Almorzar is also a stem changer, so you should be familiar with it. So it becomes almuerzo in the present tense. Almuerzas, almuerza, almorzamos, almuerzan. And hacer preguntas, to ask questions. Contestar is to answer. You should also be able to talk about places in school and subjects, like el laboratorio, the lab, la biblioteca, library, gimnasio, gym, armario, locker, el inglés, English, la ciencia, science, could also be la física, right, physics, ciencias naturales is like life science or natural science. La química is chemistry. Las matemáticas, math. Is plural, and so is ciencias, the sciences. Las matemáticas is plural, mathematics. Álgebra, geometría, trigonometría. La historia is history. La música is music. El arte, art. There's many, many other subjects you should know about. And another thing about school is things in school, objects in school, things that you might find around a classroom. La cinta adhesiva is tape. La cinta actually means ribbon, so it's like adhesive ribbon, which is what tape is. Las tijeras, scissors. La grapadora, stapler. El carnet de identidad is ID card. Las reglas is rules. Las obligaciones, obligations, things that people have to do. You should be able to talk about what somebody has to do in Spanish and use these correctly. Hay que and se prohíbe. These two use the infinitive afterwards. Hay que means something that people have to do. It's impersonal. It's not doesn't mention a specific person. It just says hay que, as in people in general have to do these kinds of things. In English, we usually just say you have to. We're not actually telling somebody that they have to do it. We just say it that way in English. Well, in Spanish, we say hay que estudiar, right? You have to study. One has to study. Se prohíbe is one must not, or it is prohibited. Se prohíbe almorzar in clase, right? You're not allowed to eat lunch in the classroom. And as we mentioned, you can also use tener que and conjugate tener to talk about what somebody has to do. Tengo que is I have to, and then you could put any verb you want at the end. Tengo que escribir un ensayo. I have to write an essay. Tiene que estudiar. He has to study, etc. Los verbos con cambio en la raíz. These are stem changing verbs. You should be familiar with these, and we did a project on these. This unit. Poder, to be able to, the O changes to UE when it is stressed. When it gets the stress, it splits into UE. Not every form stresses that O, and so you're not going to get a change where it's not stressed. So you'll see the pattern here that these two up here are not stressed, and so they don't have the same spelling change that these do. The ending is the same as you'd expect for any verb, like an ER verb or AR verb, but here you have to have the spelling change because there's not enough letters to hold up the vowel, and so it splits. It caves in, and it splits into two. So, puedo is I can. Puedo. Puedes. Puede. Well, when you get to nosotros, the stress is no longer on that O, it's on the E, so it doesn't change. Podemos and pueden is when it changes again. So it gets the stress again. So you split the O again. And so you'll see a pattern here. It kind of looks like a shoe when you put it in this kind of chart. And then empezar, the E becomes an IE when it's stressed. When it gets the stress, that's what happens. So empezar is to begin. Empiezo is I begin. Empiezo. Empiezas. Empieza. Empezamos. Empezamos. So again, see, there's no change. And the reason is because the E is no longer stressed. It's the A. Empezamos. Empezáis for vosotros. That's, of course, only used in Spain. It's still not stressed because the accent's on the A, as you can see. There's even a written accent there. And so you're not going to have the change. But if you go to the ustedes, ellos, ellas form, empiezan, and there is a change there because that E, that syllable becomes stressed. And so it caves in. Palabras afirmativas y negativas. The unit ends with general affirmative and negative words that you've seen throughout Spanish 1 and now starting with Spanish 2. So this is a little bit of a review. Alguien is someone or anyone. Hay alguien aquí is somebody here. Algo is something. Tengo algo, right? I have something. Algún, alguno or algunos. Alguna and algunas means some or any. Algunos libros is some books. Okay, and you use algún when it's followed by a masculine singular noun. Algún hombre is some man. Algún libro is some book or any book. So it really follows the pattern of un and uno in Spanish. So we have things like un libro, right? A book. Well, with algún, you're just simply putting an ALG in front of the un, uno, or una, right? So algún libro becomes any book, just like un libro. And the opposite of that, ningún, works the same way. So these two work the same. Ningún libro is no book or not any book. Ninguno, not any. Without a noun after it, you would use ninguno just like you would use uno. For example, ¿tienes un libro? Do you have a book? No tengo ninguno. I don't have one. I don't even have one. No tengo ningún. Ninguno. Or ningún libro. And the ninguna is not any in feminine. And alguna, of course, is feminine as well. Alguna mujer, some woman. Algunas clases, some classes. Siempre is always and nunca is never. Those are adverbs, right? How often you do something. Nunca is usually preceded by no before the verb. No leo nunca. No canto nunca. No trabajo nunca. And también and tampoco are also related. También is also or too. This is when you are agreeing with somebody else's statement. And it's a positive statement. Me gusta la clase. Me gusta esta clase. I like this class. A mí también me gusta. I like it too. But if it's a negative statement and you want to affirm that as well, you would say tampoco to say neither. Okay? No me gusta esta clase. I don't like this class. A mí tampoco me gusta. I don't like it either. So that's how those work. Affirmative and negative words, and think of them in pairs. Alguien, nadie. Somebody, nobody. Algo and nada. Something and nothing. Algún, ningún. You can see how they match. And algunos and algunas have a plural form. But of course, ninguno, ninguna do not have plural forms because you're saying none. So it can't be plural. Siempre, nunca. También, tampoco. So think of these in terms of opposites, and that will help you. Okay, so we talked about these affirmative negative words. We talked about spelling changing verbs. We talked about how to talk about your obligations, what you have to do. A couple different ways to say that, or what you shouldn't do, what you're not allowed to do. We talked about things in school, as you might see. For example, la cinta adhesiva, gimnasio, etc. And places, and objects like la las tijeras, scissors, different places, different classes, how to talk about those kinds of, talk about your subjects, what classes you have, what courses you're taking, talk about what people do in school, aprender, escribir, repetir, aprender, hacer preguntas, discutir, almorzar. We also talked about verbs end in go for the yo form, like pongo, tengo, traigo. We also talked about regular verb endings, er, ar, and ir verbs, and of course how to describe yourself and others using ser and using agreement with gender and number. Okay, that ends our review for Spanish 2. Muy buena suerte. Very best of luck to you. Y nos vemos. I'll see you later.